Hey guys, we're going to continue our 6.2 lecture today, but because people have been having problems with Edpuzzle, we're going to do it a little bit differently. So I'm going to shorten the lecture into video clips, and then you can answer questions right in Canvas. So let's see if that works a little bit better. Okay. So, like I said last time, 6.2 is kind of a big topic. So we split it up into sections. We did A, B, and C already. Today, we're going to focus on D, E, and F. And D is the structure of the heart. So here you can see the outside of the heart. You've got lots of different blood vessels on top. And here you can see kind of a cross section, and you can see a tricuspid valve here. You can see the ventricle and atriums, and we're going to talk all about that today. So make sure you're following along with the understandings, skills, and applications. But before we get into the actual nitty gritty, let's just go over some of the basics. So the heart is the central organ of the circulatory system. It's that pump that circulates blood around your body. And remember, we have that figure eight circulation pattern where you go from the heart to the lungs to the heart to the body to the heart to the lungs to the heart to the body, right? So you got a figure eight thing going on. We talked about blood vessels last time, arteries, veins, and capillaries. We're going to talk about the chambers of the heart today, and we're going to talk about the valves of the heart today. Okay, so the human heart has a left side and a right side. And there are two types of chambers. Now, it's important to know that blood from the left side never mixes with blood from the right side. You can kind of think of it as like two hearts, one for deoxygenated blood and one for oxygenated blood, and they're stuck right next to each other. So, blood never crosses from atrium to atrium, and it never crosses from ventricle to ventricle. So, you never have blood flow right sideways. You have blood that comes in and stays on one side of your heart, and then you have blood that comes in and goes out and doesn't they never cross. So it looks like that crosses there, but it really doesn't. It would go behind, right? So blood never mixes in your heart. You can think of it as actually two separate hearts that are like squished together. So when we're talking about chambers, we have the atrium or atria if you're talking about one, and these guys are on top. So here we have the right atrium. And hey, you're probably thinking to yourself, well, why is that the right atrium? Because it's on the left side. Well, it's left from your perspective, right? Because you're facing the heart. But if you look down at your own heart, right? This is somebody else's heart. They're standing in front of you. So this is their left side and this is their right side. Okay. Wait, no, backwards. My bad. This is their right side and this is their left side. So that's why this is their right atrium. You're looking at it and it looks like it's on the left. But make sure that you know that the person that this heart belongs to, that is their right side. So when you're writing parts of the heart on tests, because you will have to do that, make sure that it's the opposite of whatever it looks like to you. Okay, because you're facing the heart. This is the heart that belongs to someone standing in front of you. Okay, atriums. Atriums are on top. So here we have the right atrium. And this is the top chamber of the heart. And here we have the left atrium. Okay. And these guys are receiving blood from either the lungs or the body. So atriums receive the blood. They're the first chamber of the heart that blood goes into, right? So whether it's in that way or whether it's in this way. Should probably change that. Why don't I change my colors to match? How about that? Okay. Let me see if I can do that. Okay. So blood's coming in, right? And it hits the right atrium first. If you're talking about oxygenated blood that's coming back from the lungs, right? It's going to come, it doesn't come in through the aorta. I did that backwards. It comes in this way. Yeah. So blood is coming into the left atrium, right? So we're going to put lungs, because you have lungs on either side, right? And let's make sure we understand that this is coming from the body. From body, right? So this is lungs. This is blood coming from the body, right? And it's got to get pumped to the heart because it needs to pick up oxygen. This is blood that's coming from the lungs and it's going to head out to the body. So we'll put from lungs. And then it gets pumped out through the aorta to body. And this will all make more sense in a minute. And this is going to go there. Okay. So atrium are on top. Here's your atrium here. We'll use blue. This is your right atrium. And this is your left atrium. Those are the top two chambers of the heart. Next are the ventricles. And you can always tell that the ventricles are on the bottom because they make a giant V. So look, this part, all this red in here, this is the left ventricle. See how it makes a big V? And same thing with your blue side. This is your ventricle. Okay? Ventricles are on the bottom. Now come the valves. And we talked about how veins have valves and they prevent backflow, right? So that your blood doesn't go down. Otherwise, all your blood would be in your feet and you'd probably pass out. So we have valves in the heart as well. And there's two types of valves. And the type of valve is dependent on how many flaps there are that keep the valve closed, right? So the first type is the atrioventricular, right? And you can kind of tell where it goes. Atrio sounds like atrium, right? Am I red right now? Yeah. So atrio sounds like atrium, right? And ventricular sounds like ventricles. So this is a valve that's between the atria, top, and the ventricles, bottom, right? Tricuspid, meaning there are three triangular flaps that close. And you can see here, right? 1, 2, 3. Now, when these three flaps close, that prevents blood from flowing backwards. And you can see them here too, right? 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. The other type of valve is the semilunar or the bicuspid valve. And these are between ventricles and arteries. So the biggest one, here you go, the left side of the heart. So over here, it's the mitral valve is the same thing. You kind of can't see, but there's two flaps. So two flaps here on the left side of the heart. I believe that's the pulmonary valve. So if this is a tricuspid here, and this is a tricuspid, so that's here. So that's here. This is the aortic valve. So aorta is here. So this one is 3, right? That means this big one here, this is 2. The mitral valve, the semilunar valve is 2. Okay? So most valves have 3, but this valve from the left ventricle or for the left atrium into the ventricle, right? Between ventricle and arteries. No, ventricle and arteries. So ventricle here and arteries would be here. Yeah, that makes more sense because this is like the biggest valve because this is the aorta is like the biggest blood vessel in your body. It's like it actually is the width of a garden hose. So if your aorta gets like nicked, you're gonna bleed out in like minutes, literally. So this is your bicuspid valve. This is your two, and this is your three. I always forget this stuff, and I have to like re-walk myself through it every year because like human body stuff is like usually not my bag. I'm much more of a ecological and sometimes biochem person. But yeah, anyway, so you've got three here, two here. So this is from the ventricle going out to the aorta, right? Bicuspid valve, mitral valve. No, I was, oh, see? Don't listen to me. I was right. Mitral valve is two. And this is three. I got to trust myself. Trust myself. Distrust myself. Okay. Now that we got that thoroughly confused. So we're in skill two, technically, recognition of the chambers and the valves of the heart and the blood vessels connected to it in dissected hearts or diagrams of a heart structure. Now, in a perfect world, we would be dissecting calf hearts or cow hearts. But one, it's expensive. Two, it's grody. Three, it smells bad. Four, I'm not there. So we're not going to do that. I'm hoping maybe later in the year we can do some actual like dissection labs. I want to get a hold of that software I had last spring, the body software. That was really cool. So let's focus on blood vessels, shall we? So the pulmonary artery. Pulmonary means lung, artery means carrying away. Therefore, the pulmonary artery carries deoxygenated blood from the heart to the lungs. Okay? Pulmonary artery. It's going from the heart to the lungs because pulmonary means lungs and artery means away from the heart. So we have pulmonary artery. Where's my blue? Am I blue right now? Blue. So we have here, and this is going to go to the lungs. Two lungs. Next, we have pulmonary vein, which is carrying blood after it receives that oxygen back from the lungs to the heart. So switch colors, right? So our pulmonary vein right here. So it picks up its oxygen, right? And it's going to come back in this way. It's going to come in through the left atrium. Right? Should I just draw a little lung up here instead? Maybe pink? Do we have pink? Oh no! That's not what I meant to do. I don't have pink? That's dumb. I guess I'll use purple. All right, so let's draw a little lung up here. It's a bad lung, but we're going to go with it. Lung. Okay. Now we have the aorta. Now, the aorta is super thick. It's got very muscular walls because this is really the first blood vessel that blood leaves the heart with, and this is where it's getting sent to like the rest of the entire body. So your aorta is extremely important. It's got extremely thick walls. It's very muscular to help push that blood and keep it going where it needs to go, right? So this is out to the body. And there's a couple of other branches. To body. Your heart is kind of like malfunction junction, except for that it doesn't malfunction, or it's not supposed to. And then there's the vena cava, and the vena cava receives blood from the body to the heart so that it can go to the lungs. So And this is a cycle, remember that figure 8? All we're doing is we're tracing that figure 8 through the heart, right? So you have the inferior vena cava where blood comes in that way from body, and it's deoxygenated, right? And you also have some that comes in up here from body. And it's going to come in through the right atrium. It's going to come down into the ventricle, and it's going to get pushed out through the pulmonary arteries, and it's going to go to the lungs. And then when it picks up blood, or picks up oxygen rather, it's going to come back from the lungs, right? In through the atrium, through those pulmonary veins back to the heart, down into the ventricle, up, and then out the aorta to different parts of the body. So, one more time, blood's coming in, down, out to the lungs, back from the lungs, in, down, out through the aorta. Okay. And then there's the coronary artery itself, and that is on the outside. So this is a cross section of the heart. You'd have to close that off so you can see like the surface. And that's the artery that delivers oxygenated blood to the heart tissue. When we were talking about coronary occlusions, this is what we were talking about when that gets blocked off. The heart tissue is starved of oxygen, and that can cause a heart attack. You can't see that in this diagram. It's on the outside. Okay. So here's a bunch of really fancy names, a lot of which we already just talked about. The ones you should definitely know are the superior vena cava. You should definitely know the right atrium. You should know all of it, but like really, really like that. You need to know the ventricle. So you need that. You need that. You need to know the inferior vena cava. Carotenoids, you should probably know. You don't need to know left and right, but you need to know that that's a carotid. A carotid, this is the thing that actually comes up through your neck. So if you get your neck sliced, this is the thing that you're actually slicing. You need to know the aorta. That's a big one. You need to know the pulmonary arteries. You need to know the pulmonary veins. You need to know the left atrium. You need to know the semilunar valves. You need to know the atrioventricular, the mitral valve, and you need to know the ventricle. And the septum is just this dividing piece. It basically splits the heart in half. So this is the part where the two different sides of the muscle squish together. Okay. Septum, that's what that is. Just like the septum in your nose, if you get your septum pierced, it's the piece that is in the middle of your nose between your two nostrils. Well, the septum in the heart is that piece of tissue that divides the two sides of the heart. Okay, so what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to stop this recording and you're going to take a quiz.